Hello and welcome to another episode of Dark Side of the Kitchen. My name is Noel Keane and this episode is called The Customer is Always Right. Or are they? Guest behaviour is changing hospitality. So, good evening and welcome back. And before we begin, if you enjoy the honest conversation about the hospitality industry, the stories, challenges, the realities behind every plate, I'd really appreciate if you take a second to give a like, give a follow, subscribe or leave a comment. And every interaction helps me to reach more chefs and more hospitality professionals and everybody who loves the story. And I genuinely do read every comment, and thanks to everybody who sent me private comments, commented on the thing. So by all means, add your comments, good or bad. I won't be offended by it. And it helps out the channel. It helps me know what you like and helps me to do more of that. And on top of that, if anybody out there wants to come on and do a half hour or an hour with me and we talk about all them topics, more than welcome. Be delighted. So let's get into today's episode. We've all heard the phrase, the customer's always right. It's an old phrase and it's been around a long time. For over a century, it's been one of the most quoted sayings in retail and hospitality. It encouraged businesses to listen to the customer, improve service and earn trust. At its heart, it was never meant to be that the customer was infallible. It meant that the business could pay attention to what the people wanted to buy and how they wanted to be treated, and somewhere along the way that message has changed. And I hear this a lot from front of house staff in particular since COVID in particular. Not that it wasn't changing beforehand, it certainly was and it certainly had, but I do think since COVID there has been a massive change. And I hear it, so this episode is for front of house staff. Not that the chefs don't have to deal with it, we don't gotta listen to them. It's the one good thing about being in a kitchen. When it comes to it, we don't gotta deal with them. The others do. So, today a single sentence typed into an online review can reach more people than a newspaper article ever could. A 30-second video on TikTok can make or damage a restaurant's reputation overnight. One unhappy customer will now be heard by thousands. One happy customer often says nothing at all. Tonight isn't about blaming diners. It isn't about defending chefs. It's about asking a difficult question. Has hospitality changed, or have we? When I started cooking many moons ago, it is hot tonight, right? So it's Tuesday night and I was actually off today, but by God was it hot anyway. I'm back in tomorrow and I'm not looking forward to that because the weekend was hell, but we're all going through that. And we all love when the waiting staff opens the kitchen and goes, God, it's hot, isn't it? Anyway, when I started cooking, restaurants lived and died by reputation. If you had a great meal, you told your friends. If you had a bad one, you told your friends too. Word of mouth travels slowly. Today, it travels at the speed of a swipe. Before the bread even arrives, the phones are out, the photos, the videos, the reviews, the live streams. Not that long ago, I remember a table sending back its food because it was cold, because they hadn't finished taking pictures yet. Yeah. Sometimes the meal hasn't even been tasted before it's already been judged, And that's the world we're working in now, whether we like it or not. And it's here to stay. So it's what happens now. I mean, it's a pressure nobody sees now. Guest walks into a restaurant expecting a relaxing evening. Chef walks into the kitchen carrying something very different. A delivery that was late. Chef who called in sick. A supplier who sent in the wrong stuff. The dishwasher's broken. Functions for 80 people that wasn't on the diary yesterday. Electricity bill, the food cost, the wages, the rent, the pressure. By the time the first customer sits down, the day's already been won or lost. But none of that appears on a menu, nor should it. Guests deserve a wonderful experience, but perhaps there's also deserves to be understanding that behind every plate, there's a team, ordinary people, trying to achieve something extraordinary. Hospitality is the world's largest employer, but it's also the sector with the highest turnover. Industry research over the years has constantly shown labour shortages, burnout, long hours, increased customer expectations, and place enormous strain on restaurants, cafes, hotels and pubs. Many operators say recruiting and retaining skilled staff is their single biggest challenge. So why? This question has always been there, it's not new to today. But there are certainly new nuances to it today. Because the job hasn't become easier. In many ways it's become harder. Not only are chefs expected to cook exceptional food, they're expected to do it under constant possibility of public online criticism like never before. The late Anthony Bourdain once reflected that restaurants' work was built on care, discipline, teamwork and relentless effort. He understood many outside the industry never see. Restaurants are human beings get tired. Human beings make mistakes and human beings care far more than the customer realises. That doesn't excuse poor standards, but it reminds us that perfection is something we pursue, not something we possess. So picture the scene, Saturday night, 7:30, every table is full, the printer doesn't stop, and we all know that on our printer at work we have I'm after forgetting what's written on the bottom of it. The projector of nightmares. Your grill is full, fryers are flat to the mat. Waiter comes in with an allergy request. Someone wants their steak changed from medium well to medium, because of course you can reverse it. And some table then decides they're gluten-free fuckers. Yeah. You get customers sending back the chips because they're too crispy. Or another one because they're not crispy enough. The kitchen doesn't stop, it adjusts. Because that's what professionals do. Not because we enjoy criticism, but because hospitality was built on solving problems. No chef likes criticism. No chef likes to think he's done something wrong or cooked something wrong. Ever. And I've never seen a chef who came into work with the attitude that he was going to fuck up somebody's meal today. I've never seen it, and I probably never will. So can I ask you something? You ever worked in hospitality, whether it's a chef, a waiter, a kitchen porter, receptionist, behind the bar? I don't know why I point at reception that way and bar that way. I don't know. I'm at home. I have neither. What's the strangest complaint you've ever got? I've had some doozies. I've had a chowder sent back because there was fish in it. I've had somebody request a sundae with no ice cream. I can keep going here. But please drop it in the comments. What is the strangest complaint you've ever got? The one that, despite all these years, you went, sorry, what? I've had one recently, and now I can't remember it, but myself and the Deputy General Manager were at either side of the pass, belting out tables. Somebody came in with a complaint that both of us just stood there looking at each other. I can't remember what it was, and it was only a couple of weeks ago. Oh, damn. But I'm going to find out from him tomorrow, because I'm working with him again tomorrow, and I'm going to put it in the comments myself. But it was a comment on the food that was literally the two of us just stood there going, what? But I've had complaint of fish in my chowder. You know, but drop it in the comments. Let me know, what is the strange, and I don't mean that somebody complained that a steak was different than we used to back in the day call, somebody would order a rare steak and then send it back because it was too bloody, and we used to call them J.R. Ewing after Dallas because they watched too much TV and didn't have a clue. But what's the strangest ones, so like some of the best podcasts I've done have been follow-ups on stuff that you have commented on and you have said. So keep it going. I mean, there was a time when the complaint ended at the restaurant door. And they went up, they complained to the waiter or the manager, and there is a way of complaining as well, where you take it genuinely and that, and then there's the drama queens, but and it was dealt with instantly. They got they got a new meal, they got it changed, they left happy, and it was all done and dusted. And at the end of the night, we had a discussion about how it went wrong, trying to make sure it doesn't happen again. But that doesn't happen anymore. People can't seem to wait to get out of the place, to write a review, to slate a place, looking for their 15 minutes and how important they are. They all want to play the main character in life. So online reviews have transformed hospitality in many ways. It's a good thing in one way, in the fact that really bad places consistently, good places get a bad review and they go to town on it. When I say they go to town on it, that there's a full investigation into it for one bad review of why, how, when, where. Bad places obviously don't care. There is no accountability on the people giving them. And they help customers make informed choices because the good ones will always be towards the top. They reward excellence, but they created something entirely new, which was permanent judgment, 1-star, 2-star, 5-star, something based on food, something based on. I remember when I had my own restaurant, have a guy slate it, and part of the reason he slated it was raining so heavy that the walk from his car to the restaurant door, his shoes got wet, and he went on this beautifully written J.A.R. Tolkien style Spartan warrior carrying his wife across a torrent of river down the main street, and that's how the review started. How the fuck was that my fault? It was raining, but it happened. I'm genuinely, I saw one recently on Facebook, nothing to do with me, where a guy put up a review from somebody who gave it a 1-star review because they couldn't get in because they were closed. They shouldn't have been closed because he was there. Somebody wrote a review slating a place because they were closed. So here's the other side to it. Ask any restaurateur and they will tell you stories that sound unbelievable. Because often they are. And some of the ones I've read are comical. But the other side is they're a 1-star review on a place. There is no accountability to the person who writes it. And they're often anonymous as well. And it's your opinion. There are certain places I don't go for dinner. Oh, I don't like it. I won't slate it. I don't go on giving them reviews. I just don't go there. I don't like their particular style or whatever it is. Okay? And there's some places I won't go depending on the mood I'm in. I might go there in a particular mood. Go, oh yeah, I'd love to get a burger. There's 2 places I love going to burgers for. Neither's close to me, but I'll drive. I'm not going to go there if I don't want a fucking burger. Because both places do a fucking brilliant burger. I don't want what the rest they have on the menu. Why would I go there? You know what I mean? So, like, if you're a hospitality professional listening to this, you have one of these stuck in your head. We all do. We all have a couple of these stuck in our head of a review that we got that was so outlandish. Drop it in the comments. Let people know about this. But what I might do if we get a bunch of comments on this is I might do something of do a quick video, like a 1-minute video of explain the context and the review, and we'll string them together and we'll put it into one podcast of just these, and it'll be funny as fuck. The story. This isn't my story. Last week I was talking to a friend of mine. Told him this was the episode I was doing this week. So this is written down because I had to, right? Because this is his story of a table, not mine. So it was the detail. Every chef knows this. You will remember the detail. So he said it's the story of table 12. Couple arrived 20 minutes late. The table has been held. Kitchen is busy but accommodating. Their starters arrive, their mains, everything seems fine. They smile, they thank the staff they pay the following morning. 1-star review appears. Terrible service, staff uninterested, would never return, no conversation, no opportunity to fix it, just a public verdict. It's a very short little thing to say because the interaction was tiny. Now imagine you're a chef who prepared that. You simply became part of a 1-star review. It's an emotional weight reviews can carry inside a kitchen. You're fucking late. I despise lateness, can't stand it. But people do this all the time. You know, it's it's actually quite some time ago, was out with a bunch of people for a lunch, and somebody was a half hour late. We were sitting at the table waiting. The waiter came over, asked, did we want to take the order? This was 15 minutes after our time. And somebody at the table said, oh no, we're going to wait for X. And I went, no, we're not. I'm ordering. I was there 10 minutes early. It's now 15 minutes late. There's still no sign of this person. They haven't texted anybody. They haven't called anybody. But they're coming apparently. Then a good few of the people were throwing me looks on the table. Now I know all of these people really well. Really, really well. This isn't some random table. So I was like, no. Why did your time become more important than mine? When did that happen? When did my time not become important? That you can turn up late? And the waiter took the order. They brought out the starters. When the person arrived, they went, well, why didn't you wait for me? They were now half an hour late. Everybody in the table was like, and I went, you're half an hour fucking late. What, like, where's the apology? Where's the message? Where's the phone call? You're half an hour late. This is acceptable, apparently. It is not. And I think it actually needs to be called out. And I remember when I had Crete, and it was a particularly busy Saturday night, and somebody had booked a table for, I think it was 7 o'clock. And at 7:30, no call, no text, no nothing, we gave the table away. Because somebody came to the door. We had an empty table on a Saturday night. 8 o'clock, 5 to 8 I think it was. It wasn't quite 8. This couple then showed up. It turns out they were less than 20 feet away in the outside of a bar that was straight across the street. Pedestrian street. You couldn't walk over and go, we're actually going to have a couple of drinks, we'll be on in a while. They then actually reviewed the restaurant after a major row at the door, which told them basically, disgraceful carry on. Reviewed the restaurant because we didn't keep their table without them informing us. It drives me mad, lateness. In case you haven't worked that one out. Not all reviews are bad, let's be fair. Most customers are wonderful. Most customers are fantastic. Your problem with your fantastic regular customers is they'll never do you a review, but they love you. You know what I mean? Most guests simply want good food, warm service, and value for money. It's pretty much the trifecta, isn't it? And when they receive it, and every restaurant has their customers who enjoy what they do and come back regularly. And every chef remembers those. They remember the guy. Oh, he comes in. I remember back in the late 90s, I worked in a restaurant. Every Friday night, the same couple came in at 8 o'clock, sat at the same table, ordered the same thing. Lovely people. I'm not going to give their names out here, but I remember that. I remember the good customers from my own place, from places that I work for other people, these regular people that were just wonderful to deal with. They also, the same people, if something's wrong, also know how to complain. And you never feel bad about it. You fix it, they get it, they're happy, you know? I did one crowd from, I barely opened the restaurant, and they had their first date. And a couple of years later, they got engaged in the restaurant. And the night after their honeymoon, they ate with us. And a year later, or a little longer than that, did their christening with us. Again, I know who these people are, I'm just not going to say it on here. We were part of that journey. It was wonderful, absolutely wonderful, you know? And then you get the regulars who actually know quite a bit about you and ask about your life, your parents, your partner, your kids, do you know what I mean? I have the banter with you on your favourite football team or rugby team or whatever it is, you know? There are so many reasons why so many of us stay in this, for very good reasons, because hospitality at its best is not a transaction, it's a relationship, you know? But in today's conversation, if today's conversation is striking a chord with you, I'd really appreciate if you taking a moment to like the episode, subscribe if you haven't, and leave a comment down below. Your support genuinely helps the podcast. So then you got to look at, and I brought this up right at the very start, I think things changed a lot since COVID, and this is what I'm also getting back from, career waiting staff. We almost expect a certain amount of complaints because you can't get it right all the time. And then you have nuances and variances in the way every chef cooks and also in the way what people expect. It's just the way it is. Some people's idea of a well-done steak and a chef's might be different. I recently had 2 soup come back because it wasn't hot enough. They wanted it nuclear. I don't take it as a complaint. They prefer it to a point of hot. I think is ridiculous, but hey, give it to them. They were happy out with it. There's a guy who comes in every Thursday. He likes his plate screaming hot, basically plate it, put it under the sally, and roast the hell out of it. That's the way he likes it. No issues with that, you know? If you've got preferences, tell us. But tell us before we cook it. We'll do it. We don't mind, you know what I mean? But it's when it's afterwards, it's like, why didn't I know, you know? Which, and these things are fair enough. When a restaurant gets something wrong, it puts it right. That's hospitality. That's what we do, you know? But when a complaint becomes confrontation, your disappointment does not allow you to give abuse. And too many people working in hospitality have stories they'll never forget. Not because of the pressures of service, but because of the way they were treated. You know? I recently had a barman in a place say to me, somebody ordered something. And the bill came to something like 39 something. He handed him a 50. He said, 1 second, I'll get your change. And the guy turned and looked at him and went, keep it, I think you need it more than I do. What the fuck is wrong with you to talk down to somebody like that? Now, personally, the barman went about his business. I'm looking at him go, I'd have come back and slapped it on the table. Minimum, you know? You can't talk to people. And that's very recent. Very recent, having a conversation with a guy. How many chefs have seen waitresses in tears because of a customer? That's always unacceptable. There is no acceptable putting a young girl in tears. None, zero. And if as a customer you've done it, you're scum of the earth. That is somebody's daughter, sister, you know? You put a young girl crying. Really? You know, and these are always like 17, 18, 19-year-olds who are doing their best. You know, they're doing their best. They're kids. And some customer then starts shouting at them, raising their voice. And they end up in tears, and some cunt thinks it's okay. It's not. It's never okay. And people will always say, chefs have thick skins. You have to. You work in heat, pressure, constant deadlines. Even the toughest chef carries things home. The sarcastic review, the insult shouted across the dining room, the accusation of the chef doesn't care. That one hurts. That one hurts. Because it's the one thing I know about chefs. They care too much. They actually care too much. And then you have the advent of social media. There's nothing we can do about it. It's here. It's always going to be here. It may change. Certain sites may die off and other ones will come out. And it's done extraordinary things for restaurants and for chefs. As the guy sitting here who will post this across social media. You know? Got a bit of a cough time. It helps independent cafes become almost viral overnight, and young chefs have built careers through creativity and passion. Small businesses have found audiences they would never have reached before. But now you've gone to the point of every plate has to be Instagrammable. Every meal has to be perfect. Every experience has to be content. And sometimes people spend more time filming it and photographing it than they do enjoying it. Because the one thing about restaurants and cafes and all of these places was it's an experience to be had with people. You come in, you sit, you dine with people. It's social, you're chatting. But no, it's not. It's content, it's photos, it's the experience itself is getting lost. A one-star review doesn't just affect pride, it affects bookings, staff morale, recruitment, revenue. For a small independent restaurant, a series of poor reviews can genuinely threaten business. And I've seen, not recently, actually, it was a bit ago, where a particular group, decided to review bomb a particular restaurant. And hundreds of reviews went up, but none of them had ever been in the restaurant. And here is where social media becomes a problem, because somebody on social media had a row with that chef. They were vegan. And then a whole bunch of people who were vegan review bombed that restaurant. I also know of a chef who was caught opening accounts and reviewing another restaurant in the same town. Badly, obviously. And this is the downside to it. This is the no accountability from the other side. It's a huge responsibility. And the fairness isn't there, because getting reviews down when you believe that they're wrong isn't the easiest thing. You know, and what I would say and what I would personally do, if I'm out for a meal and something isn't to my liking or done wrong, I will call the waiter over. I will very politely tell them, this isn't what I ordered, this isn't the way I wanted it, any chance, and get another one. I've been out to eat, so feed me. I'm not a small boy, like. I give them the chance to make it right. You know, when I started out in this industry many moons ago, way back in the 90s, a guy I worked for used to say, I remember one night I got a complaint, and it was me, something I had done wrong. And straight away he said to me, it's not a complaint or a problem until they go out that door. And once we know about it, we rectify it, we fix it, and if they leave happy, it's no longer a complaint, it's a learning. And it was a great way of looking at things of, well, from a customer's point of view, you want to eat, you want to enjoy it, and you want to leave happy. The restaurant's point of view, they want you to come in, they want you to eat, and they want you to leave happy. And that's the way it used to be. Social media has changed it, where now I'm not happy, now I'm delighted, I've got content to slate a place, you know? Nearly all the professionals in my field want to make it right, want you to enjoy and want you to leave happy. You know, there's no halfway point anymore. It's certainly something we're thinking about. If you've ever left a negative review, if you have, did you give the restaurant a chance to fix the problem? If the answer is yes, then you probably helped improve the business. The answer is no. Maybe next time it's worth having the conversation first. You know, hospitality has always been about communication, not confrontation. And like, don't get me wrong, for every difficult customer, there's 100 wonderful ones. Like, let's not forget that. The couple celebrating 50 years in marriage, the family bringing a newborn, the regular who sits at the same table every Friday night, which, the customer who notices the kitchen is under pressure and simply says, take your time. Not the customer who, and we had this January of last year. Remember the snow, the heavy snow. So we were one of the places that could keep operating because we had a generator. And ESB invited everybody locally who had no power for a couple of days to come into a place to get something warm to eat and all of that. Now, we were short-staffed. People couldn't travel anywhere. Our staff couldn't travel. And yes, there was a mad delay on getting food. An hour easy. People complained. They walked in. There was a queue. It was explained to them because staff were on explaining everything and making sure everybody was comfortable and giving them whatever they needed. That, listen, we're up to our eyes now. We're running on skeleton crew. Myself and the GM stood at the pass for 12 hours straight, slinging nearly, 3,800 meals. And yet one or two people complained about the delay. They were getting free food at a time when for several days they'd had no power, no nothing. And we were the only place capable of doing it because we had power. The fuck is wrong with you? They walked into a dining room beyond packed. There was a seating area, a place set up for people to sit to wait for a table. And it wasn't good enough. They were getting everything for free, but it wasn't good enough. And like there were customers who come in that know everybody's name. Who thanks everybody, who compliments the chef to the dishwasher, the waiter to the barman, who understands that service is running 10 minutes behind as a reason. Not because they spend the most money, because they show kindness. And kindness is remembered long after a bill is paid. Long after it. Like good food is often simple food in relative terms, And the same can be said for hospitality. At its heart, it's not Michelin stars and all of the lights, It's about making people feel welcome. And everything else is built on that foundation, Like a moment for you, for the audience, to those that listen to this, that get this far into it, because I'm 33 minutes in and almost there. But if you've gotten this far into it, have you got a favorite restaurant? Do you ever tell them? Do you ever leave a positive review for them? Do you ever recommend them to a friend? Hospitality spends so much time hearing what's wrong. Sometimes we forget how powerful it is to hear what's right. And if this episode has made you think, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear where you stand on all of this. Is the customer always right, or has the phrase outlived its purpose? What was the phrase really meant to mean? I Googled all of this, by the way, so I would have details. The customer's always right. And it's also one of the most misunderstood sayings in business. And it goes back to retailers such as Harry Gordon and Selfridges. They popularized it in the early 1900s, so it wasn't even in hospitality. The idea wasn't that customers could never be wrong. It was that listening to a customer and treating them with respect and understanding what they wanted to buy made you better. It was never intended to justify abuse. It was never intended to excuse bullying. And it certainly wasn't intended to suggest people serving us deserve to be any less dignity than the people that are being served. So perhaps today we need a new phrase. Customers deserve respect. So do the people serving them, I mean, the good news is things are changing. More restaurants are investing in staff well-being. More owners are supporting their teams when unacceptable behavior occurs. More diners are recognizing the pressure the restaurant faces. And younger chefs are demanding something previous generations like me rarely, if ever, asked for: respect, balance, sustainability in the career. That's not weakness, that's progression. Because if we want talented people to stay in this industry, we need kitchens that produce great food and healthy people. So, for me, after decades in the hospitality industry, I've learned something. The meals people remember aren't the most expensive. Think about the meals you remember, the ones you remember most fondly. They're the ones where we felt welcomed, where somebody smiled, where we laughed, where we celebrated, where we felt looked after. And isn't that what hospitality is about? Not perfection, connection. If you're a customer of some place listening, thank you. Without you, there'd be no hospitality. Keep supporting your local cafes and pubs, restaurants and hotels. And if something isn't right, tell them, speak to them, give them the opportunity to make it right. Most will. If you're a chef, keep caring. Don't lose the passion that brought you into the profession. But remember, look after the people. Looking after people includes looking after yourself and your team. And if you're one of the thousands working front of house, thank you. You're often the first smile a guest sees, the last thank you as they leave. And then you were also the first person to absorb the frustrations that they have that weren't your fault. Your professionalism matters. Your kindness matters. And you matter. If today's episode made you think, please help us grow the community. Like the episode, subscribe to the channel, share it with somebody in hospitality. But most importantly, leave a comment. Do you still believe the customer is always right? Or do you think it's time for a new conversation? I'd genuinely love to hear your thoughts. I'm Noel Keane. This has been The Dark Side of the Kitchen. And until next time, be kind to your guests, be kind to your colleagues, and never forget, the best hospitality begins with respect. Let's keep changing the world, one plate at a time.